The Consensus Media and the Budget. I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.media. Did you ever doubt for a second that there's a media party in this country and they all tend to think and act in the same way? Well, if you did, let me tell you about what happened this week. Of course, the federal budget came out on Tuesday. Watch some of the coverage here. Now, these are all supposed to be competitors, but you wouldn't know it because, well, their coverage of the budget all sounds the same.
Balancing the books by dipping into the emergency fund.
Well, it may have taken him a few months longer, but Finance Minister Joe Oliver delivered on the promise today.
Back in the black, as it were, but at what cost?
But it comes at a cost.
It reminds me of the boxer who has to get to 173 pounds to make his weight to fight.
But if my math is right, they're actually $600 million in the hole.
He had to raid the contingency fund.
Balanced budget, which really isn't balanced.
Just how political this budget is.
For very targeted reasons.
Today's announcements have more to do with the fact that seniors by far vote more than any other demographic.
The government tried to switch the topic to security.
Then he delayed billions in new promises far into the future.
Won't actually be paid out until much later.
One thing that's not in this budget, any mention of climate change.
There was no money to fight global warming and very little for Aboriginals.
Let us not ascribe cleverness or intelligence to Stephen Harper and the people around Stephen Harper that are not there.
Okay, we get it. You wanted more money for climate change. You wanted more money for special interest groups, and you weren't too crazy about how the federal government got into their surplus in the first place. You don't like the rating of the contingency fund, which I think most of you used to mock to begin with just a little while ago, but that's another story. Look, I have my own problems with this document, like the fact that the government still takes too much of your money and still spends too much of your money. $288.9 billion in spending this year, and if they cut it any more, you know that the media party would be screaming. But within that $288.9 billion is more than $25 billion in public debt charges. That's just the interest on the federal government's debt. That's like the interest on your credit card payment. You're not paying it down, you're just paying off the monthly interest, the minimum payment. Well, that's what we continue to do. Most of the spending is actually just collected by the feds and then either sent out to the provinces or to individuals in the way of things like pensions or child care payments to parents. The actual program spending is less than half of all the money that they collect and then dole out. But even within that, there's too much spending. But you won't hear about that. Instead, you're going to be hearing about how these tax cuts that they've promised, the little bits to give us back, are unfair because they only benefit the wealthy. The tax-free savings account are only for the rich. Of course, it's not true. It's never been true. But that doesn't stop the media party from selling their contrived and, well, very similar sounding narrative.